They say confessing your sins sets you free. But what if your sin is loving someone you destroyed? This is a story about blood on gentle hands, about the lies we tell to survive our guilt, and about the moment when the truth becomes more unbearable than silence. Some love stories start with a spark. Ours started with a crash. But before we begin, a beautiful shout out to some of our amazing audience who engaged our previous stories. Shirley Redding from Florida, Georgia, Anita Johnson from New Orleans, and Angela Bedward. It's so great to have you as our community highlight for this week. We love you very much. Now, let's get back to our story. The hospital corridor smelled of antiseptic and desperation, but all Nicole Kennedy could smell was smoke and gasoline. Her hands were clean now. She'd scrubbed them raw in the bathroom, but she could still feel the blood. Vanessa's blood. The woman whose life she'd just saved. The woman whose life she'd almost taken. Nicole pressed her back against the cold hallway wall, watching through the ICU window as a man stood vigil beside the bed. Tall, dark-haired, with a jawline that looked chiseled from guilt and exhaustion. He hadn't left in 36 hours. The nurses whispered about him. The devoted husband keeping watch over his dying wife. If only they knew. Excuse me? The man's voice startled her. He'd emerged from the room, his hazel eyes red-rimmed but kind. Are you Nicole? Her throat closed. He doesn't know. He doesn't know it was you. Yes, she managed. I'm Davis, Vanessa's husband. He extended his hand, and Nicole stared at it like it might burn her. When she finally shook it, his grip was warm, grateful. The nurses said you pulled her from the car, that you stayed with her until the ambulance came. Thank you doesn't seem like enough. Nicole felt bile rise in her throat. She wanted to scream the truth, that she was the reason his wife was in that bed, tubes breathing for her, machines keeping her alive, that she'd run the light. How is she? Nicole asked instead, her voice hollow, critical but stable. They think, Davis's voice broke. They think she'll make it. Because of you. The irony was a knife twisting in Nicole's gut. She'd pulled Vanessa from the wreckage, performed CPR, held pressure on the wounds. All the skills from her years as a trauma nurse deployed to save the woman she'd almost killed. Penance or preservation? She didn't know anymore. I should go, Nicole said abruptly. I'm glad she's okay. Wait. Davis touched her arm gently. Can I at least get your number? I'd like to thank you properly when things are less chaotic. Maybe buy you dinner? No. The word came out too sharp. Nicole softened it with obvious effort. I mean, that's not necessary. I'm just glad I was there. Davis studied her with those perceptive hazel eyes, and for a terrifying moment, Nicole thought he could see straight through her carefully constructed composure to the guilt festering underneath. You're a nurse, he observed, noting her scrubs. Trauma nurse. At St. Luke's. Today was my day off. Then I'm doubly grateful you were there. He smiled tiredly. I'm sorry. You've been here all night and I didn't even offer you coffee. There's a machine down the hall that makes something allegedly drinkable. I really should go, Nicole repeated, already backing away. Being near him felt like standing too close to a fire, dangerous and consuming. Your wife needs you. Soon-to-be ex-wife, actually. The words tumbled out before Davis could stop them. He looked as surprised as Nicole felt. I'm sorry. I don't know why I said that. You don't need to hear about my personal life. But Nicole was frozen, staring at him. What? We were supposed to sign divorce papers yesterday. At the courthouse. That's where she was headed when... Davis stopped, running a hand through his dark hair. God, I'm sorry. You saved her life, and here I am dumping my dysfunctional marriage on you. The courthouse, Nicole repeated faintly. Her mind rewound to the moment before impact. Vanessa's car turning left. Nicole's car accelerating through what she'd thought was a yellow light, but was already red. She hadn't seen Vanessa until it was too late. She kept saying she was late, Nicole heard herself say. In the car, before the ambulance came, she was crying, saying she couldn't be late. Davis's expression crumbled. To her own divorce. Jesus! What kind of person does that make me? She almost dies on her way to officially end our marriage, and my first thought is that now I have to stay. That leaving would make me a monster. The raw honesty in his voice cut through Nicole's defenses. This man, this stranger, was offering her a glimpse of his worst self, and somehow that made her guilt even more unbearable. You're not a monster, Nicole said quietly. You're just human. And right now, you're exhausted. Go be with her. Get some rest. Everything else will still be there when you wake up. Davis looked at her for a long moment, something shifting in his expression. You are a kind woman. Nicole felt tears threaten. If only he knew. I should go. This time, she didn't wait for him to respond. She turned and walked away, her legs barely holding her up. In her car, she gripped the steering wheel with shaking hands and finally allowed herself to fall apart. She'd destroyed a woman's life, nearly killed her. And now that woman's husband was thanking her, calling her kind, looking at her with gratitude, when he should be looking at her with hatred. She didn't sleep that night. Or the next. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Vanessa's terrified face through the shattered windshield, heard the screech of metal, felt the weight of a life in her hands. The police report had been straightforward. 2-car collision. Nicole cited for running a red light. Vanessa's injuries severe but not fatal. Standard insurance procedures to follow. Nicole had waited for criminal charges that never came. Vanessa was too injured to give a statement, and by the time she could, Nicole suspected the details were blurry. The universe had given Nicole a pass she didn't deserve, and now she had to figure out how to live with it. 3 weeks later, Nicole was working a double shift at St. Luke's when she saw him in the cafeteria. Davis, looking better than he had in the ICU hallway. Rested, clean-shaven, wearing an expensive suit that suggested he'd returned to normal life. He was on his phone, pacing near the windows, his free hand gesturing as he talked. Nicole ducked behind a pillar, her heart hammering. What was he doing here? Nicole? Her colleague, Dr. Reese, appeared beside her. You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. I'm fine, Nicole lied. Just tired. Well, perk up. That gorgeous man over there has been asking about you. Reese nodded toward Davis. Said you saved his wife's life. Wants to thank you properly. Nicole's stomach dropped. You didn't tell him where to find me, did you? Relax. I said you were busy with patients. But seriously, Nicole, he's fine as hell and clearly interested. When was the last time you let yourself have any fun? Before Nicole could respond, Davis spotted her. His face lit up with recognition and relief, and he was already heading toward them. Shit, Nicole muttered. Language, Kennedy. We're in a hospital. Reese grinned and slipped away, leaving Nicole alone to face him. Nicole, Davis said as he approached, I've been trying to find you for 2 weeks. You're a hard woman to track down. I've been working. Nicole crossed her arms, defensive. How's your wife? Vanessa. Her name is Vanessa, and she's recovering well. She's staying with her mother through physical therapy. Davis paused. We haven't rescheduled the divorce proceedings yet. It felt wrong to push it while she's still healing. That's good of you. Nicole's voice was flat, professional. She needed him to leave before she cracked open and the truth spilled out. Listen, I know you said you didn't want dinner, but I feel like I owe you more than just words. You saved my wife's, Vanessa's, life. Let me at least take you to coffee. No pressure, no expectations. Just a proper thank you. Mr. Sutton. Davis. I appreciate the offer, but it's really not necessary. I was just doing what anyone would do. But you're not just anyone. You're someone who spent hours at a hospital making sure a stranger was okay. Someone who... He stopped, studying her face. Why do I get the feeling you're avoiding me? Because I'm the reason you were at that hospital in the first place. Because every time you thank me, it's like acid on my skin. Because I'm falling apart and you're making it worse just by being kind. I'm not, Nicole said instead. Having coffee isn't just my thing. Something flickered across Davis's face. Disappointment? Right. Of course. I'm sorry for pushing. He should have left then. Any reasonable person would have accepted the rejection and walked away. But Davis Sutton, Nicole was learning, wasn't easily deterred. Can I ask you something? He said. And you can tell me it's none of my business. Nicole's pulse quickened. Okay. Are you seeing someone? The question was so unexpected, so intimate, that Nicole actually laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. What kind of question is that? An honest one. Because I can't explain how I'm drawn to you when I barely know you. And I don't think you don't feel anything too. You don't know me well enough to make that assessment. You're right. I don't. Davis's hazel eyes held hers. So let me know you. Coffee. 1 hour. That's all I'm asking. Why? Nicole demanded. Why are you telling me this? Davis was quiet for a moment, seeming to search for words. Because when you walked away from me in that hospital, I felt like I was losing something I didn't even know I was looking for. And I know that sounds crazy. We're strangers. But there was something in the way you looked at me, like you understood exactly what I was feeling. Nicole felt her carefully constructed walls beginning to crack. She should say no. Should walk away right now and never see Davis Sutton again. But instead, she heard herself say, 1 hour. Coffee. That's it. The smile that broke across Davis's face was devastating. They met at a small cafe 3 blocks from the hospital. Davis arrived first, already sitting at a corner table with 2 cups of coffee. When Nicole slid into the seat across from him, he pushed one toward her. Nicole took a sip and felt some of the tension in her shoulders ease. So what do you want to know? Everything, Davis said simply. Start with why you became a nurse. For the next hour, Nicole found herself talking more than she had in months. About growing up in Brooklyn, the only daughter of a single father who worked 2 jobs to put her through nursing school. About choosing trauma nursing because she wanted to help people at their most vulnerable. About starting the volunteer clinic in the Bronx because too many people couldn't afford basic health care. Davis listened with complete attention, asking questions that showed he was genuinely interested, not just being polite. He told her about his work as a sports agent, about representing athletes who came from nothing and needed someone to protect their interests, about losing his way in his marriage because he and Vanessa had been friends first, and somewhere along the way, they'd confused comfortable with compatible. We never fought, Davis said. People used to say that was a good thing, that we were so in sync. But really, we just didn't care enough to fight. We were not partners who challenged each other to be better. Is that what you want? To be challenged? I want to feel something, Davis said. Anything other than this comfortable numbness. I want to care about someone so much it terrifies me. I want... He stopped, shaking his head. Sorry, this is intense for a coffee meeting. No, Nicole said softly. I get it. I feel the same way about Trevor, my ex-fiancé. He's wonderful. Successful doctor, kind to his family, never raises his voice. On paper, he's perfect. But I'm not in love with him. I care about him, but I don't feel that terror you're talking about. That intensity. And he deserves someone who does. Davis reached across the table and took her hand. The touch sent electricity through Nicole's entire body. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to want more than safe and comfortable. Nicole stared at their joined hands, feeling tears build behind her eyes. She should pull away. Should tell him this was inappropriate. Should maintain the distance that kept her guilt at bay. But she didn't. I should go, she said finally, pulling her hand back with obvious reluctance. This was thank you for the coffee. Nicole. Davis stood as she did. I know this is complicated. I know this, whatever this is impossible. But I need you to know that I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since that night at the hospital. And I don't think I'm alone in that. Nicole's breath caught. Davis? You don't have to say anything. I just needed to be honest. Life's too short for anything else. Over the next 3 months, Nicole and Davis developed an unofficial routine. They'd run into each other at the cafe near the hospital. Sometimes they'd talk for 20 minutes, sometimes for hours. They never planned it, or at least they both pretended they didn't. But somehow, they always seemed to be there at the same time. Davis told her about his divorce proceedings, which had officially restarted. Vanessa was healing well, back to her pre-accident self, and ready to move forward with the separation. She'd been gracious about it, Davis said. Understanding. They were parting as friends. I love you, Nicole, he'd said in their last conversation. But I can't love someone who won't let me in. What Nicole didn't tell Davis was that every conversation with him felt like a betrayal. That every smile she gave him was paid for with guilt. That she was falling in love with a man whose life she'd nearly destroyed, and the weight of that secret was crushing her. And still, she couldn't stay away. It was Davis who finally pushed things forward. 4 months after the accident, he showed up at Nicole's apartment unannounced. She opened the door to find him standing there, rain-soaked and intense. I'm divorced, he said without preamble. Signed the papers today. Vanessa and I are officially done. But Nicole, I can't do this anymore. I can't pretend this is just friendship. I'm in love with you. Nicole felt the world tilt. Davis. I know it's fast. I know it's complicated. But I've spent 5 years in a relationship where I was too afraid to feel anything real. I'm not doing that again. I love you. And I think you love me too. He was right. God help her. He was right. Nicole had fallen completely, devastatingly in love with Davis Sutton. But that only made everything worse. You can't love me, Nicole whispered. You don't know me. Not really. Then let me know you. Davis stepped closer, cupping her face in his hands. Whatever you're hiding, whatever you're afraid of, let me in, Nicole. Let me prove that I'm not going anywhere. And in that moment, standing in her doorway with rain dripping onto her floor, and Davis's hazel eyes burning into hers, Nicole made a choice. Not the brave choice. Not the honest one. But the selfish choice. She kissed him. Davis responded immediately, pulling her close, one hand tangling in her curls. The kiss was desperate and hungry, months of tension finally breaking. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Nicole was crying. Hey, Davis said softly, wiping her tears with his thumbs. What's wrong? I'm terrified, Nicole admitted. Terrified of how much I feel for you. Terrified of losing you. You're not going to lose me. But Nicole knew better. She was going to lose him the moment he learned the truth. But for now, just for now, she let herself have this. Let herself be loved by a man who didn't know she was the architect of his worst day. It was the most selfish thing she'd ever done, and she'd regret it for the rest of her life. The next 6 months were the best and worst of Nicole's existence. Best because loving Davis was like breathing. Natural, essential, life-sustaining. He was competitive and intense, yes, but also thoughtful and present. He showed up at her clinic to help organize supplies. He networked with his wealthy clients to fundraise for medical equipment. He made her laugh during her worst shifts and held her through her nightmares. Worst because the guilt was eating her alive. She was driving home on a Tuesday when her phone buzzed. An unknown number. "We need to talk." About the accident. About Davis. About the lies you've been telling. Vanessa. Nicole's blood turned to ice. The coffee shop Vanessa had suggested was small and intimate, the kind of place where conversations stayed private. Nicole arrived 10 minutes early, her hands shaking as she ordered tea she wouldn't drink. She'd spent the entire night awake, trying to figure out what Vanessa wanted, how much she knew. Vanessa arrived exactly on time, and Nicole felt her breath catch. The woman looked nothing like the broken, bloody figure Nicole had pulled from the car. She was stunning, fit and healthy, her blonde hair swept back elegantly, her blue eyes sharp and assessing. She looked powerful, dangerous. "Nicole Kennedy," Vanessa said, sliding into the seat across from her. "Thank you for meeting me." "What do you want?" Nicole asked, too anxious for pleasantries. Vanessa smiled. Cold and calculating. "I want to talk about my ex-husband. About how he's dating the woman who almost killed me." Nicole felt the room spin. "How did you?" "The police report. It took me a while to remember the details of the accident. Head trauma will do that. But once I was recovered enough to think clearly, I requested the report. Imagine my surprise when I saw your name listed as the other driver. The one who ran the red light." Vanessa leaned forward. "The one who texted while driving and nearly ended my life. It wasn't like that. I didn't plan." "Does he know?" Vanessa interrupted. "Does Davis know that the woman he's fallen in love with is the reason I was in that hospital bed in the first place?" Nicole couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. She shook her head. "Vanessa. And it made me realize something." Vanessa's voice hardened. "I gave up too easily. I let him go without a fight, because I thought I wanted something different. But seeing him with you, seeing him actually happy, it made me understand what I lost. What you took from me." Nicole felt ice flood her veins. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I want him back." Vanessa smiled, and it was terrifying. "And you're going to help me get him." "I won't." "Yes, you will. Because if you don't, I'll tell Davis everything. About how you were the one who ran the light. How you've been lying to him for months. How your entire relationship is built on guilt and deception." Vanessa leaned in, her voice dropping to a whisper. "I'll destroy you, Nicole. I'll make sure he never looks at you the same way again. And then, when you're gone and he's broken, I'll be there to put him back together." Nicole felt nauseous. "Why would he want you back after that?" "Because I'll make him understand that you manipulated him, that you used his gratitude and guilt to worm your way into his life, that you're not the gentle, kind nurse he thinks you are. You're a careless woman who nearly killed someone and then seduced her victim's husband. That's not, isn't it?" Vanessa challenged. "You did almost kill me. You are dating Davis without telling him the truth. How do you think he'll interpret those facts when I present them?" Nicole knew exactly how Davis would interpret them. As betrayal. As the worst kind of deception. "What do you want from me?" Nicole asked hoarsely. "Back off. End things with Davis. Make him think it's his fault that he pushed too hard, that you weren't ready. Break his heart gently enough that he'll need someone to comfort him. Vanessa's smile was cruel. And then leave him to me. And if I don't, then I tell him everything. Today, right now, I have his number. One phone call and your relationship is over anyway. But this way, at least you control the narrative. You get to leave with some dignity. Nicole stared at this woman, this person she'd nearly killed, and saw her own darkness reflected back. Vanessa was right. Nicole had been lying, had been selfish, had been building a relationship on a foundation of guilt and hidden truth. She didn't deserve Davis. She never had. I need time, Nicole said finally. She left, and Nicole sat frozen in her chair, her entire world crumbling around her. She'd known this moment would come eventually. She'd just hoped she'd be brave enough to tell Davis herself, on her own terms. Instead, she was being blackmailed into abandoning the man she loved by the woman whose life she'd nearly destroyed. The universe, it seemed, had a cruel sense of justice. Nicole spent the next 24 hours in hell. She called in sick to work, ignored Davis's increasingly worried texts, and sat in her apartment trying to figure out what to do. She could tell Davis the truth herself before Vanessa could, but that meant risking his hatred, his disgust. But this required a bravery Nicole didn't possess. She was too much of a coward. She would rather do what Vanessa wanted. End things with Davis cleanly, walk away, let him find happiness with someone who hadn't almost killed his wife. That evening, she finally responded to Davis's texts. "Can you come over? We need to talk." He arrived 30 minutes later, concern etched across his handsome face. "Nicole, you've been ignoring me for days. What's going on?" "I can't do this anymore," Nicole said without preamble. No building up to it. No softening the blow. Just the words, quick and brutal like ripping off a bandage. Davis froze. "Can't do what?" "Us. This relationship. I can't." Her voice broke. "I'm not ready for this, Davis. I thought I was, but I'm not. I'm still figuring out who I am, what I want. And you deserve someone who's sure. Someone who can love you without reservation. Where is this coming from?" Davis stepped closer, searching her face. "2 days ago you told me you loved me. What changed?" "Everything. Nothing. The truth you don't know." "I lied," Nicole forced herself to say. "Or maybe I convinced myself I meant it. But Davis, I'm not in love with you. Not the way you deserve. I care about you, but—" "Bullshit." Davis's voice was sharp. "I don't believe you. Something happened. Something scared you. Tell me what it is and we'll figure it out together. There's nothing to figure out. I'm ending this. I'm sorry, but my decision is final. Nicole, don't do this. Don't run away when things get real. I know you're scared." "I'm not scared." Nicole's voice rose, desperate. "I'm done. I don't want this anymore. I don't want you." The words hit Davis like physical blows. She watched his expression shift from confusion to hurt to something harder. Anger, maybe. Or resignation. "Fine," he said quietly. "If that's really how you feel, then fine. I won't fight for someone who doesn't want me." He turned to leave, and Nicole felt her heart shatter. This was it. The end. She'd done what Vanessa wanted. Protected Davis from the truth. Saved him from the woman who'd nearly destroyed his wife. But at the door, Davis paused. "For what it's worth, I don't believe you. I think you're lying to protect yourself from something. And when you're ready to tell me the truth, I hope I'm still willing to listen." Then he was gone, and Nicole collapsed onto her floor, sobbing so hard she couldn't breathe. She'd done the right thing. She'd set him free. So why did it feel like she'd just made the worst mistake of her life? The next 2 weeks were agony. Nicole threw herself into work, taking on extra shifts, volunteering until she was too exhausted to think. But nothing could silence the voice in her head screaming that she'd made a mistake. That she should have fought. That she should have trusted Davis with the truth. She called Vanessa to confirm it was done. Vanessa's voice was satisfied, victorious. "Thank you, Nicole. I know this was hard, but you did the right thing. Now we can all move on." But moving on felt impossible. Nicole had sacrificed everything to protect Davis from the truth, and Vanessa was claiming him as her prize. She'd been so consumed by guilt that she'd taken away Davis's agency. She'd decided for him what he could and couldn't handle, what he should and shouldn't know. But the thought of facing him, of seeing his love turn to hatred, was paralyzing. So Nicole did what she'd been doing for months. She ran. She avoided. She let the days blur together in a haze of work and guilt and sleepless nights. Until the universe forced her hand. It was a Saturday morning, 6 weeks after the breakup, when Nicole's phone rang with an unfamiliar number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Nicole Kennedy?" A woman's voice, professional and crisp. "Yes?" "This is Detective Sarah Langford with the NYPD. I'm calling about the accident involving Vanessa Sutton from 6 months ago. We need to ask you some follow-up questions. Can you come to the station?" Nicole's blood ran cold. "What kind of questions?" "Miss Sutton has filed a formal complaint. She's requesting we reopen the investigation and pursue charges for reckless driving, resulting in serious injury. Given the time elapsed and new evidence she's presented, we need your statement." New evidence. Nicole's mind raced. What new evidence could Vanessa possibly have? "When do you need me there?" "Today would be preferable." "This afternoon?" Nicole agreed in a daze and hung up. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold the phone. Vanessa was escalating. Not only had she manipulated Nicole into breaking up with Davis, now she was pursuing legal action. The message was clear. Vanessa wanted Nicole destroyed completely. Nicole should have been terrified. Should have been planning her defense, calling a lawyer. Instead, she felt something unexpected. Relief. The secret was coming out whether she wanted it to or not. She couldn't hide anymore. Couldn't run. The truth was going to detonate her life, and there was a strange freedom in that certainty. Before going to the police station, Nicole made one stop. She drove to Davis's apartment building and asked the doorman to buzz him. Her heart hammered as she waited, half expecting Davis to refuse to see her. But his voice came through the intercom, surprised and wary. "Nicole? I need to talk to you. Please. It's important." A long pause. Then, "Come up." Nicole's legs felt like jelly as she rode the elevator to the 12th floor. Davis was waiting in his doorway, and the sight of him stole her breath. He looked thinner, haunted. His hair was disheveled like he'd been running his hands through it, and his hazel eyes held a wariness that hadn't been there before. "What do you want?" he asked, not unkindly, but not warmly either. "To tell you the truth." Nicole's voice shook. "About everything. About why I really ended things. About who I really am." Davis studied her for a moment, then stepped aside. "Come in." His apartment was masculine and minimalist, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. It was painfully neat. The tidiness of someone filling empty hours with busy work. Nicole noticed a photo on the side table, Davis and Vanessa from happier times. Both of them young and smiling. "Is that recent?" Nicole asked, nodding toward the photo. "What?" "No. That's from years ago." "Why?" "I thought maybe you and Vanessa were—" Nicole stopped, shaking her head. "Never mind. That's not why I'm here." Then why are you here, Nicole? Because 6 weeks ago, you made it very clear you didn't want anything to do with me. I lied. The words came out in a rush. I lied about everything. About not loving you. About not wanting to be with you. I lied because I was terrified and guilty and being blackmailed. And I made the worst decision of my life. Davis's expression shifted confusion. Hope, anger, all warring for dominance. Blackmailed? By who? Vanessa. Nicole took a shaky breath. She came to me 6 weeks ago and threatened to tell you something if I didn't end our relationship. Something I should have told you myself months ago. Something I've been too much of a coward to admit. Nicole, you're not making sense. The accident, Nicole forced herself to say. The one where I pulled Vanessa from the car. Davis, I wasn't just a bystander who happened to be there. I was the other driver. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Nicole watched Davis's face as comprehension slowly dawned, watched him process what she was saying. What? His voice was barely a whisper. I ran the red light, and I wasn't paying attention. And I ran the light. I hit Vanessa's car. I almost killed her. Nicole's tears were flowing freely now. And then I stayed at the hospital not because I was being heroic, but because I was consumed with guilt. I pulled her from the car because I needed to save her, needed to undo what I'd done. And then you thanked me, and you looked at me like I was some kind of hero, and I couldn't tell you the truth. Davis had gone very still, his face unreadable. You've known this whole time. The entire time we've been together. You knew. Yes. And you never thought to tell me. I tried. So many times I tried. But I was terrified of losing you. Terrified of seeing you look at me the way you're looking at me right now. Nicole's voice broke. Davis, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know what I did. Both causing the accident and lying to you is unforgivable. But I couldn't let you hear this from Vanessa or the police first. You deserved to hear it from me. The police? Davis's eyes sharpened. Vanessa's filed a complaint. She wants me charged with reckless driving. I have to go give a statement this afternoon. Nicole wrapped her arms around herself. She blackmailed me into breaking up with you by threatening to tell you the truth. And when I did what she wanted, she went after me anyway. I guess she was pissed when she couldn't still have you. She's trying to destroy me, and honestly, I deserve it. Davis turned away from her, walking to the windows. His shoulders were rigid with tension, his hands clenched at his sides. Nicole waited, barely breathing, for him to explode. To yell. To tell her to get out. Instead, when he finally spoke, his voice was eerily calm. Vanessa did this. What? Davis spun to face her. Vanessa manipulated you. She used your guilt to break us up, and now she's twisting the knife by going after you legally. This isn't about justice, Nicole. This is about her getting what she wants. But I did cause the accident. I know. And yes, that's serious. But you also saved her life. You stayed with her, pulled her from the car, performed CPR. You made a mistake, and then you tried to fix it. Davis moved closer, his expression intense. What I can't understand is why you didn't just tell me. From the beginning. Why did you let this eat you alive instead of trusting me with the truth? Because I love you. Nicole's voice rose, desperate. Because I fell in love with you, and I knew that the moment you learned what I'd done, you'd hate me. And I couldn't bear that. I know it was selfish. I know it was wrong. But Davis, loving you was the first time I'd felt truly alive in years, and I wasn't ready to lose that. So you chose to lose it anyway, by pushing me away. Vanessa didn't give me a choice. There's always a choice. Davis's control finally cracked. You could have come to me. We could have faced this together. Instead, You made the decision to end things without even giving me a chance to process the truth. You took away my agency, Nicole. Just like you took away Vanessa's choice to know who really saved her life. The words hit Nicole like physical blows. He was right. About all of it. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry, Davis. For everything. For the accident, for lying, for pushing you away. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just needed you to know the truth before everything falls apart. Davis rubbed his face, exhaustion evident in every line of his body. I need time to process this. I need to think. I understand. Nicole moved toward the door, her heart breaking. For what it's worth, every moment with you was real. My feelings were real. I was just too broken to handle them properly. Nicole. Davis's voice stopped her at the door. When she turned, his hazel eyes were filled with pain and something else. Something that looked like understanding. I don't hate you. I'm angry and hurt and confused. But I don't hate you. Give me time to work through this. It was more than Nicole deserved. She nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat, and left. The police station was exactly as Nicole expected: fluorescent lights, uncomfortable chairs, the smell of bad coffee. Detective Langford was a middle-aged woman with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Miss Kennedy, thank you for coming in. She led Nicole to an interrogation room. I'll be recording this conversation. Before we begin, you have the right to have a lawyer present. I don't need a lawyer, Nicole said. I'm going to tell you the truth. And she did. Everything. Running the red light. Being distracted by her phone. The collision. Pulling Vanessa from the wreckage. Staying at the hospital consumed by guilt. Meeting Davis without telling him who she was. The relationship that developed. Vanessa's blackmail. All of it laid bare. When she finished, Detective Langford was quiet for a long moment. That's quite a story, Miss Kennedy. It's the truth. 3 days later, Davis called her. Meet me at the Galaxy Diner, Davis said when Nicole answered. The one on 5th and 42 End. Tonight at 8. Davis, I don't think... Please, I need to see you. Nicole agreed because she couldn't not. Because even now, after everything, she would do anything for the chance to see him one more time. The Galaxy Diner was a relic from another era, all chrome and red vinyl. Nicole found Davis in a corner booth, 2 cups of coffee already waiting. When she slid in across from him, her heart ached at how tired he looked. I talked to Vanessa, Davis said without preamble. Confronted her about the blackmail, about filing the police complaint. Want to know what she said? Nicole waited, barely breathing. She admitted everything. Said she saw us together and realized she'd made a mistake letting me go. That watching me fall in love with you made her understand what she'd lost. So she decided to get me back by any means necessary. Davis's jaw clenched, including destroying you in the process. Davis? She also admitted the divorce was her biggest regret. That she'd spent months in physical therapy thinking about our marriage, about all the ways she'd taken me for granted. She'd been planning to ask me to try again. He laughed bitterly. Then she found out about you and everything changed. It wasn't about love anymore. It was about winning. About not letting someone else have what she'd thrown away. Nicole felt something twist in her chest. I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. No. Davis's voice was firm. This is Vanessa's fault. She made her choices. You made yours. And He stopped, taking a breath. I made mine too. I pushed you too hard, too fast. I was so excited to finally feel something real that I didn't see how much you were struggling. That's not your fault. Let me finish. Davis reached across the table and took her hand. The touch sent electricity through Nicole's entire body. I've spent the last 3 days thinking about everything. About the accident, about your guilt, about why you didn't tell me. And Nicole, I understand why you couldn't. I don't like it. I hate that you carried that alone for months. But I understand it. Nicole felt tears building. How can you possibly understand? Because I know what it's like to be paralyzed by fear. I spent 5 years in a marriage I knew was wrong because I was too afraid to admit failure. Too afraid to walk away and face being alone. Fear makes us do terrible things, like staying in relationships that don't serve us, or hiding truths that eat us alive. Davis's thumb traced patterns on the back of her hand. You made a mistake. A serious one. You hurt Vanessa. You lied to me. But Nicole, you also tried to make amends. You stayed with her. You saved her life. You dedicated yourself to helping people as penance for the one person you hurt. That doesn't excuse. No, it doesn't. But it counts for something. Davis squeezed her hand. I'm not saying I'm not hurt by the lying. I am. I'm angry you didn't trust me with the truth. But I'm angrier at myself for creating an environment where you felt you couldn't tell me, where you thought my love was so conditional that one mistake would destroy it. Nicole's tears spilled over. I don't deserve your forgiveness. Maybe not. But you have it anyway. Davis's hazel eyes were intense, certain. Because I'm in love with you, Nicole Kennedy. Not the perfect version you tried to show me. The real you. The woman who makes mistakes and carries guilt and runs scared when things get hard. I love all of it. And I'm not letting Vanessa's manipulation or your fear or my own hurt destroy what we have. Nicole buried her face in his chest, sobbing. All the guilt and fear and pain she'd been carrying for months came pouring out. Davis held her through it, one hand stroking her hair, murmuring assurances she barely heard but desperately needed. I love you, Nicole choked out. I love you so much, and I'm so sorry. I know. I love you too. Davis pulled back to look at her, cupping her face in his hands. And we're going to get through this. Together. Whatever happens with the police investigation, whatever fallout comes from Vanessa's manipulations, we face it together. No more secrets. No more running. Deal? Deal, Nicole whispered. Davis kissed her then. Soft and searching and full of promise. When they finally pulled apart, Nicole felt lighter than she had in months. The guilt was still there. It would probably always be there, but it wasn't crushing her anymore. She'd told the truth. And somehow, impossibly, she'd been forgiven. The next few weeks were chaotic. The police investigation continued, but Detective Langford's skepticism about Vanessa's motives meant the case moved slowly. Vanessa, realizing her manipulation had been exposed, withdrew the complaint entirely. She released a statement saying she'd been processing trauma and had acted impulsively. Davis suspected his lawyer's strongly worded letter about filing harassment charges had helped change her mind. Vanessa called Nicole once, her voice tight and bitter. You won. Congratulations. This wasn't about winning, Nicole said quietly. And I am truly sorry for what happened. I wish I could take back that day. Make different choices, but I can't. All I can do is try to be better. You nearly killed me, and you get my ex-husband as a prize. Tell me how that's fair. It's not, Nicole admitted. Nothing about this situation is fair. But Vanessa, trying to destroy me didn't make you happy. Manipulating Davis didn't bring him back. Maybe it's time to stop looking backward and start building the life you actually want. Vanessa was silent for a long moment. I loved him, you know. Maybe not the way you do, but I did love him. I know. And he loved you too. But love isn't always enough if you're not right for each other. I suppose not, Vanessa sighed. For what it's worth, I'm glad I survived, and I hope you two are happy together. Just be honest with him and don't make my mistakes. They hung up, and Nicole felt a strange sense of closure. Vanessa would be okay. They all would be. Nicole and Davis rebuilt their relationship slowly, carefully. They went to couples therapy to work through the trust issues. Nicole continued seeing her own therapist to process the guilt and trauma. Davis learned to be more patient, to create space for difficult conversations. Nicole learned to be more honest, to trust that love could survive imperfection. It wasn't easy. There were setbacks and arguments and moments when the weight of everything threatened to pull them under. But they kept showing up, kept choosing each other, kept fighting. 6 months after the truth came out, Davis took Nicole back to the accident site. They stood at the intersection in silence, both remembering that terrible day. I forgive you, Davis said quietly. But do you forgive yourself? Nicole thought about it. Really thought. I'm trying. Every day, I'm trying. That's enough. Davis pulled her close. That's all any of us can do. 2 years after the collision that changed everything, Nicole stood in a small chapel wearing a simple ivory dress, her natural curls crowned with flowers. Davis waited at the altar in a charcoal suit, his eyes bright with tears as he watched her walk toward him. There were only 50 people there, close friends and family who'd supported them through the chaos. Trevor had sent a gift and his blessing. And in the front row, to Nicole's shock, sat Vanessa with a kind-looking man she introduced as Philip. I know it's weird, Vanessa had said when she'd asked if she could attend, but I wanted to be here, to show that I've moved on, that I'm happy for you, both of you. Nicole had cried and hugged her, and some broken thing between them had finally healed. Now, standing before Davis, Nicole felt whole for the first time since the accident. The guilt would always be part of her story. She'd never forget what she'd done, but it didn't define her anymore. She'd faced her worst self and survived. She'd told the truth and been forgiven. She'd learned that love wasn't about being perfect. It was about being real. I love you, Davis said as they exchanged rings. The real you. Every messy, complicated, beautiful part. I love you too, Nicole replied. Thank you for fighting for me when I was too scared to fight for myself. The officiant pronounced them husband and wife, and Davis kissed her thoroughly while their guests cheered. Later, at the reception, Nicole pulled Davis aside. Her expression was nervous in a way he rarely saw. What's wrong? He asked. Nothing's wrong. Everything's perfect. It's just she took his hand and placed it on her stomach. I have something to tell you. Davis' pulse quickened. Okay? But you have to promise not to freak out. That's not a promising start. Nicole laughed. We're going to need to make room for someone new in about 7 months. Davis froze, his hazel eyes going impossibly wide. Are you? Pregnant? Yes. Nicole bit her lip. I found out last week. I was going to wait until after the wedding to tell you, but I can't keep secrets anymore. Remember? No more hiding. No more hiding, Davis repeated, his voice choked with emotion. Then he lifted her off her feet and spun her around, both of them laughing. When he set her down carefully, he cupped her face in his hands. We're having a baby. We're having a baby, Nicole confirmed. I'm terrified. Me too. But also completely, impossibly happy. Me too, Nicole said again and kissed him. As Davis pulled Nicole onto the dance floor for their first dance as husband and wife, she thought about everything that had led them to this moment. The terrible mistake, the crushing guilt, the lies and manipulation and fear, The moment of truth that should have ended everything but somehow became a beginning instead. They swayed together as the music played, two survivors of a collision that should have destroyed them, but instead brought them together. And for the first time since that terrible day at the intersection, Nicole allowed herself to believe in second chances, in forgiveness, in the possibility of love born from wreckage and truth. Some love stories start with a spark. Theirs started with a crash, built itself on confession, and survived because they chose courage over comfort, truth over safety, and each other over everything else. And in the end, that was enough.